Hello everybody, my name is Michael Stevens. I am in PGY2 of an emergency medicine residency at the Mayo Clinic, and I'm the current Vice President of the Aerospace Medicine Student and Resident Organization. So this executive committee took over the reins of the organization after our annual meeting last year in May of 2022, and for the past year we've been working really hard to bring you some exciting updates. Now, a lot of the work we've been doing has been very boring, unsexy, bureaucratic work, but it's work that we truly believe will put the organization on a much more solid foundation and give us great footing for the years to come. Now, if you've been following the monthly minutes from the executive committee that are emailed out, then you'll already be familiar with some of the work we've been doing. But for the very small minority of you who don't read those emails every month, we're going to kind of break the news on some of those today, because we're going to discuss them later on in this video, and we're going to give you some context, and we're really proud of them. So one of the big changes that has tremendously helped the organization is we have applied for and received tax-exempt status under 501c3. So what that means is we're officially designated a nonprofit organization. This has allowed us to take our funds from PayPal and actually use a bank account now. We had access problems in the past and accounts shifting hands and shutting down, and now we don't have that issue with PayPal. We actually have a legitimate bank account. This will also help us when we collect dues and sell merchandise and pay for things at the annual meetings. We have a bank account to do it from and not just a PayPal now. The tax-exempt status has also helped us apply for some back-end IT tools such as Google Apps for Work. And this will help us organizationally as an executive committee, but then it'll also be visible to the end users, right? So we can take our existing domain that we already own, AMSRO.org, and we can use it as an email address now. So people won't be emailing or receiving emails from amsro.president@gmail.com anymore, but once this is approved, then we can actually get president@amsro.org or vice president or whatever it is, and it brings a lot more air of legitimacy to the organization as well. So we're really excited about that. We have a lot of other exciting updates that we're going to cover during the annual meeting in 1 month from now, but I wanted to talk about these specifically because we're going to reference them later in the video. Now, perhaps the largest kind of project or challenge we undertook was tackling the issue of chapters. So over the past year, we as an executive committee have been asked a lot of really tough questions about chapters, and we've been asking ourselves a lot of tough questions about chapters and how we can best serve the chapter leaders and the people involved in these chapters. And so we have spent months and months and months, almost the majority of our time in the executive committee meetings for the past year discussing what to do, how we can best serve our chapters organizationally, financially, how we can best protect AMSRO's reputation, protect us legally, and do this all in an ethical manner as well. So the entire purpose of this video is we're proposing some major improvements in the chapter system. And to do this, we're actually proposing some major improvements to how we run AMSRO as an organization. We are hoping to move our bylaws to be more in line with the bylaws of our parent organization, ESMA. And to do that, we're going to send out an email very shortly that will ask you to vote on these bylaw changes. And so that will include the chapter reorganization as well. So the executive board first took our proposal for improving chapter organization and kind of redoing our bylaws to the chapter committee to solicit their feedback and garner their support. They were overwhelmingly supportive, and we did take their feedback into consideration, and then we also presented the same proposal to the same chapter committee plus some key stakeholders, namely chapter leaders and anyone who's in the process of applying for a chapter. So that's the meeting that you're actually going to see. It's a Zoom recorded meeting, so it's pretty low quality, and I was using my cell phone as a hotspot because I was traveling and still am. So I apologize for the quality of it, but that video and audio, they're initially a little choppy, but it gets better. And then secondly, because the first few minutes of that video were not recorded, we're going to cover just like a slide of it here, and then we'll jump right into it. But we wanted to show you this video and make this presentation so that when you receive a link in your inbox to vote for these bylaw changes, that you have this to reference, that you have some context for the reason why we're doing this, and then that you can see at least a glimpse of the deep thought and the hard work we put into proposing this, because we really think it's the best move for this organization. So without further ado, let's start the slideshow. So this is the chapter reorganization proposal as presented to the chapter committee and to the key stakeholders, namely the chapter leaders and people who are in the process of applying to become a chapter. So a brief history of AMSRO and ESMA. ESMA was founded in 1929, and the resident organization, AMSRO, Student Resident Organization, began in 1992. Now we initially began as an affiliate organization of ESMA, and we're going to talk about what that means here in just a second. And we became an ESMA constituent organization actually very recently in 2019. And we're going to jump right now to me explaining the difference between an affiliate and a constituent organization.
And they differentiate between affiliates and constituents. Now, the difference between these is, a constituent organization for ESMA has to make up at least 2% of the ESMA membership, and every member of a constituent organization has to be a member of ESMA itself. Now, affiliate organizations, they just have to basically communicate at least once per year to ESMA and say, we're a similarly minded group of people, and we want to affiliate ourselves because we believe in your mission and we believe in what you're doing. And there's no requirement that they make up 2% of or greater than of the ESMA membership. And there's no requirement that affiliate organizations there's no requirement that their members all be members of ESMA itself. So that's kind of the difference according to ESMA bylaws of an affiliate versus constituent, right? Both groups provide like a copy of their organization's bylaws to ESMA, and they must have a similar mission and goals and be like-minded, right? Some examples of constituent organizations like the Space Medical Association, the Society of United States Naval Flight Surgeons, or the Air Force or Army equivalents, the Aerospace Human Factors Association. Those are some of the constituent organizations. And those are the ones where at least 2% they have to make up at least 2% of the ESMA membership. And they have to, every single member in that organization needs to be a part of ESMA. And that's like dues paying member. The affiliate organizations, groups like Space Surgery Association, Undersea and Hyperbaric Medical Society, Barnabas Health has partnered with us, Civil Aviation Medical Association. So there are a lot of really well-respected, well-known groups that are affiliates, and all of the international partner organizations. So like the ESA equivalent, the JAXA equivalent, whatever country, Korea has one, right? Those are all affiliate organizations, and it makes sense for these, like the Undersea and Hyperbaric Medical Society. They don't need to be a constituent organization because not everyone who's doing undersea and hyperbaric medicine is also doing space medicine, aerospace medicine, right? So it would be counterproductive to require that every Undersea and Hyperbaric Medical Society member be a member of ESMA as well. It's money, it's time, it's all of those things, and maybe they don't even have the interest to make up 2% of the constituency, right? So that's all well and good. We've got kind of a basic history lesson and a kind of a structure of how things work, but the reason why we need to address this, one, there's a problem. We've run into a few problems with like a lack of clarity in roles, right? There sometimes are multiple chapters at a single school. Schools and residency programs, they get funding differently. And you've got feeders from multiple schools that, like a residency program can have, feeders from multiple schools, or vice versa. You can have a school that feeds into several different hospitals. So they get funding for student and resident organizations totally differently. There is a difference between undergraduate medical education funding and graduate medical education funding, and funding from the schools of graduate studies, which we have, PhD and master's candidates in our organization. And then one of the bigger things, and that's all kind of organizational. Now, it's one of the bigger problems where it kind of really hits home is we've had all of these different chapters and I think we're over 40 chapters now. They get, there's a president for each one, or whatever they call themselves, a chair for each one. And there's a lack of clarity on what that means. So what happens is speakers, we have a very limited speaker pool, right? There aren't a whole lot of people in our career field, and there aren't a whole lot of people that are willing to speak at these events either. But we will get, we will inundate these people. We have with requests from, I'm the AMSRO president of whatever, I'm the AMSRO president of whatever, right? And it's really unclear, like, why does AMSRO keep asking me to speak at these organizations? Because we've basically rubber stamp chapter creation over the past few years in a good effort to really get people to be interested and be involved. So I think the chapter creation, it really came out of a good place, but it's kind of, we're at a crossroads here where we are the preeminent organization for trainees in aerospace medicine, but we lack a little bit of organization. And as an organization, AMSRO is trying to move our bylaws to be more in line with our parent organization, because that's good structure, and it makes our roles more clearly defined as well. We've also had a problem with like silent groups that will, somebody will start a chapter and they'll be active for like a year, maybe a few months, and they'll go silent because they kind of had a CV building, or they get really busy in medical school or residency or whatever it is, and then we don't hear from them again. And I'm kind of guilty of that myself, to be honest. We have a lot of CV builders with groups that fizzle after a year or two. So a couple actual examples of this. So we have a really well-respected Air Force or Army colonel who came to us and said, hey, I've got a lot of people interested in aerospace medicine. I want to start a chapter, not really affiliated with anything, but I want to be like the orphan chapter. I want to sponsor all those people who don't have a group, right? Which is, it's a problem. And so we have to say, well, do we allow that or do we not? I started a aerospace medicine and human performance group at my own medical school, Augusta University. And I was actually shocked to learn that there's a chapter there, right? But I had already started a group. So that's two chapters of the same. Now, mine was a little bit different. I didn't become an AMSRO chapter because I couldn't secure funding that way, but it looks like somebody did and has kind of circumvented the regulations for funding, because we are a student and resident organization. So this is like very unsexy, like bureaucracy, like rules, but we have to pay attention to if we're going to one, protect ourselves legally, and to protect kind of the reputation of the group. Where if I, for instance, and this is the same where I'm at residency, and it's the same at a lot of places I've spoken to, or people that I know, that if you're an undergraduate medical education, like you're getting your MD, your funding comes from the School of Medicine, right? And so you can form a student group, and they will fund you, and they will pay for those lunches or whatever. If you're a resident organization, your funding comes from the School of Graduate Medical Education. If you're like Molly Long here, one of our chairs of our committee chapter, she's doing master's work in aerospace medicine research, so that her funding is going to come from the School of Graduate Sciences, Graduate Education, whatever. It's all, these are three separate funding sources. We have pharmacy students with us, and pharmacy residents with us. That's another different school. And to just say we can start a chapter, well, then who's going to fund that? And we will necessarily exclude people who are eligible to participate in that group if we do it by the book. So if I start a chapter at a medical school, then, and the medical school pays for that, that necessarily excludes the researchers, that necessarily excludes the residents, right? Because I am being funded by that group, and to do anything else is dishonest, and it's not good for the reputation of the group, right? So that's one of the problems. Another actual example is we had one of our chapters come to us, a very active chapter that we really, they've been doing a lot for us, and we really love to see the work they're doing. They came to us and they said, hey, can we charge people to attend the meetings? That was a new one, because we hadn't considered this. And then they said, can we sell AMSRO branded merchandise? And then That in another chapter also went a step further. Hey, can we use AMSRO's tax-free status? Can we use your bank account? And this all became a lengthy discussion between in the executive committee for several months. How do we address this, right? Do we say yes? Should we? And what we came down to is, oh yeah, and sorry, and I'll keep going because there's other examples of problems, like we talked about inundating speakers with invitations, right? And all in the names of the AMSRO president or vice president or whomever, right? That seems to change every single time they get an email. There's a PD of one of the only accredited aerospace medicine programs declined to speak to AMSRO because he's like, I've already done that like 10 times. Like, I don't know why I keep getting invited to speak to AMSRO. Are you guys not coordinating? And so again, not good for our speakers, not good for our reputation either. And then we have no regulation that states, the limits of a chapter. So there could, and this has been an issue, we have like a Canadian chapter. There can be like a Montreal chapter. There can be an Ottawa chapter. I can make the chapter of planet Earth, and Ben could come behind me and say, I want to make the Milky Way chapter, right? We don't have any organization or regulation to that. So we do have some large chapters and that are kind of encompassing some smaller chapters at this point. So this chapter thing, it started with really great intentions, just wanted to get the word out, get people involved. And it kind of developed into rubber stamping. Every chapter gets approved and without really like thinking through the consequences at first. So at this point, we're trying to, push the brakes, take a step back and say, we want to do this. How do we do this well? And how do we do this while protecting us legally? How do we do this while not annoying, our speakers over and over again? How do we do this protecting our reputation? And how do we do this in such a way that we still get that great interaction with the other organizations? And how do we do this in a way that's aligning us with the bylaws that govern our parent institution, ASMA? So we have a few options. Option one is we do nothing. Option two, and that's not really an option, so we'll just toss that aside. Option two is that we end the chapter system entirely, and instead we create more committee positions for hosting events, like we have an event committee. And that's option two. And if you're taking notes, I would write these down because I'm going to refer to these, and I would have them on the slide, but I can't share my screen. I am so sorry. But when we come to the general membership with this, I'll make sure my computer works and I'm not traveling. But we wanted to get the big stakeholders, we wanted to get your opinion of this first. So option two is in the chapter system entirely and create more committee positions on ESMA to do some of these things that chapters are doing. Option three will allow existing chapters or interest groups to become AMSRO affiliates. So we're moving to that ESMA-like governance, right? You are an affiliate, and the affiliates essentially can call themselves whatever they want, except for they're not AMSRO, right? But they are an AMSRO affiliate. We have a logo we can give you. You will have access to the repository of recordings. We can help coordinate speakers, and we can provide that for you. And we would want, and this is option four now. Option four is to create regional chapters that are centrally governed. So imagine taking the map of the United States and splitting into Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Midwest, whatever it is. And we'll do a little digging on where our chapters currently are to see how we can best represent everyone. And then we elect people to be as part of the AMSRO core leadership. You get elected or appointed to be the chair of the Southeast, or the co-chair, or the meeting committee member, and so we create these central AMSRO positions for people, and plus or minus allowing the affiliate thing. So option three is move chapters and interest groups to become affiliates, and option four is to divide up the United States and the world into different regions, create central leadership positions in the core leadership of AMSRO, plus or minus option 3. So we can do that alone and not do affiliates, or we can do that and maintain affiliations with existing groups. And these are our options. So let's go through what that would look like. So affiliation, remember the affiliate versus the constituent. The affiliation, which is option 3, allowing groups to become affiliates, means that not every single member of your interest group that is not called AMSRO, but is an AMSRO affiliate, not every single member needs to be a dues paying member of ESMA and AMSRO. That's a good option, because I'm sure the interest groups in other schools, if they're anything like mine was, people came for their free food, and they came to see an interesting talk, but they weren't AMSRO members and they weren't ESMA members. That costs a lot of money. Well, ESMA costs more money than AMSRO, but you get what I mean. And I think that would reduce also the bureaucratic burden for everyone as well. If we just say, hey, you're not AMSRO Carolinas, you're not AMSRO Georgetown, you're not AMSRO Augusta University, you are the interest group of whatever, wherever you want to get your funding. And it allows a lot more flexibility that way, so that you can make groups not violating, your school's policy by being inclusive of other members. And if you want to do that, then you can do that, but you can't have the AMSRO name to do that, right? Because it's a violation, and it's not good for our reputation. And the benefits of affiliation is you would get access to all the AMSRO resources. We would have the centralized management of contents and events. You have more flexible funding if you're an affiliate, and there's less legal liability for the AMSRO group at large, and it provides more organizations. So that's option 3. We let people, we essentially say, we want you to be an affiliate of AMSRO, and we will still provide you with all the resources that come with that. But you can't sell AMSRO branded merch. You can't be, you can't use our bank account. You can't be called AMSRO. You are more flexible in the way that you make your group, and you can proudly take our AMSRO affiliate logo and use it as you need, right? I think, personally, I think that's a great option. So that's option 3. Now, option 4 can exist with option 3, or it can exist without option 3. So option 4 is that we divide up the United States, we divide up the world into regions, and we have for each region a chair, a co-chair, and I think, Ben, can you remind me of a couple of the others we were thinking about, because I don't have my notes on me here, but it was I think someone speaking, or committees or something like that.
Yeah, we wanted to have someone keep a central speaker database so that we can offer those resources to all of the AMSRO affiliates, and sort of potentially kind of bring the big guns, so to speak, in the sense that AMSRO has a lot of connections. We are pretty consistently able to get a high profile speaker, like an astronaut, for our annual meeting. And, if we had a central speaker database that was coordinated with the chapters, with the, AMSRO affiliate organizations, then we could actually sort of figure out who haven't we called on in a while, who have the affiliate organizations been calling on, and then maybe we can kind of make that match for you guys and bring a bigger name speaker to your organization than you might otherwise be able to get.
Yeah. And also another benefit of this is we are creating, in doing this, a lot more core AMSRO leadership positions, which is great. And we would invite you guys to be more involved. And it's not just you're running, as soon as you get elected or appointed, or however we're going to do this, into those positions, you're kind of a little bit more on the inside circle, and really can be heard a little bit more as well. Now, of course, not every single interest group is going to be a part of that. So that's why there has to be some sort of election or appointment, and it'll probably be appointment, apply, and the executive committee will decide who's going to be chairing the regional. But you will be the chair of AMSRO, Mid-Atlantic, or a co-chair of AMSRO Mid-Atlantic, which is a great thing. And we can organize then our speakers. So what would happen is we have a monthly event, and we say, hey, Mid-Atlantic is taking this one for April. For May, Pacific Northwest is going to take it. For June, AMSRO Japan is going to take it. And And then it gives you a lot of flexibility in how that person is going to, or that committee, then the chair, the co-chair, everyone are going to be responsible for coming up with the event, and then that event will be hosted centrally, right? So it's not just like University of West Virginia hosting the event. It's like AMSRO hosts all of the events, the central AMSRO, and we delegate that. So again, that can exist with or without affiliate chapters. So we could just say, hey, we're going to pump the brakes on chapters in general, and we are going to I don't want to say dissolve them, but we're going to request that you change your name to something else, and we can just do just the regional thing, or we can do the regional thing, option 4. We can do that with option 3, meaning we also create affiliates and still provide that centralized repository, that organization, that help if you need just help organizing and starting up your group. We still have the ability to do that. What that would so those are the options 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, so a little bit of roles and responsibilities. If we talked about the regions being responsible for monthly events on a rotating basis, we said each regional chapter is going to have a committee chair, co-chair, committee members. We would consolidate all of that into the chapter committee, and then so our chapter committee here would actually get a lot more leadership opportunity as well, and be a lot more active. Agreements, if you're going to be an AMSRO affiliate, and use the AMSRO affiliate logo and all the benefits that come with AMSRO affiliation, we would require that the affiliates not solicit or host events not approved by the executive board if they involve people in our central repository speakers. So what that means is if we build a central repository of speakers that from which we can draw some of those big guns that Ben was talking about, and some people who, like the PDs and that sort of thing, who like to be involved but have a little bit limited time. Now, if you want to invite somebody for your local event and you're an AMSRO affiliate, you're the Aerospace Medicine Interest Group at your medical school, we would ask that we help you coordinate that, and then that we host it, like kind of co-host it, your group and us, and then. But if you had say like an old retired Navy flight surgeon at your school and it was just a local thing, like feel free, unless this retired Navy flight surgeon is like the director of NASA, right? Like there's going to be, we have to work out a little bit of the wording and what we mean there. But right now, what we think is anyone in our central repository, we ask that you do not contact them to speak, because but that you work through us and we can help you with that. So that would be kind of the part of the roles and responsibilities of being an affiliate. And affiliates could use the AMSRO affiliate logo, but not the AMSRO name in their group. So again, let's recap our options. The option 1 was do nothing. Option 2 was in the chapter system entirely and create more committee positions for hosting events. Option 3 is allow the existing chapters to become affiliates. It would necessitate a name change. But they become an affiliate of AMSRO and get all the benefits, thereunder. Or option 4 is create those regional chapters with or without option 3. So moving forward, any change will, likely necessitate a bylaw change. And I say that we actually have the ability to just end chapters as an executive committee, but we don't want to do that unilaterally. We want to get buy-in from the current people who are leading these chapters, because you're doing good work and you guys are the guys and girls that are going to be affected by this, right? So what we want to do is we want to do a bylaw change that protects us in the future, because our bylaws were just a little bit looser, and we want to mirror ESMA as a whole. And the chapters aren't the only people that are being affected by this. You look at an organization like Women in Aerospace Medicine, which started out as an AMSRO group, but now, now it contains attending physicians who have been in aerospace medicine for decades, right? So that is decidedly not an AMSRO group, right? All the members are not members of AMSRO. So we have to find out, we have to figure out what we're going to do with them too. And the best thing that we've come up with is moving toward ESMA-like governance within AMSRO, which makes sense as our parent organization, that we could then call them an affiliate, right? And we're not all of the members have to be AMSRO members. They can't be a constituent. So it's not just chapters that are undergoing this big change, but we're really trying to kind of future-proof some of our bylaws and our governance so that we protect ourselves, protect our reputation, we protect ourselves legally, and we protect our speakers and our events. So ideally, we would have later this month, when I'm not traveling and able to share my screen and have all the kinks worked out and not in a different time zone. And I really deeply apologize for not being able to do all that today. We would have a meeting later this month, and we would include the general membership, anyone who wants to come, right? And we would present the same thing. And we would vote on this by the end of April. So the idea would be voting on this by April 30th. So this is in 2 weeks. We would vote for the bylaw changes for this. So I want to get your opinion. You know, Jason's still here. I know Diego looks like he had to go. And Claire, I don't think I've heard her opinion yet either, but we would love to hear your opinion on which option you like, or any thoughts you have or concerns.
Yeah, thanks for disseminating this information. So I kind of agree with Molly with what she said with the chat, just you know, transitioning to like affiliates. I guess for me, I'm in an odd position because I'm sort of in the middle of trying to create an affiliate at my med school, and I'm giving a talk next month to like to the M1s, M2s, so I could actually gauge interest if there is student interest on my campus. And so I'm supposed to have like a meeting in like 2 weeks with you know, student services. So I'm just wondering, should I just be at a hold pattern, wait until this vote occurs before engaging with my admin, or should I or is there any other formal documentation you could give me so I could give to my admin and being like, well, this is what, you know, AMSRO is proposing to do, but you know, we still should be on track to create an affiliate organization, just so by the time this is all set up, you know, we could add, because I have about 4 or 5 flight surgeons in my city that I would love to add to the central repository. And you know, my big selling point was to essentially go to my school and say, like, you know, we don't always have to host someone on campus, because, you know, we're always getting emails from other chapters or other affiliates about this awesome researcher or whatever, and like we're always like sharing opportunities to attend these talks via Zoom. So that was sort of my game plan, was to just being like, you know, there's a very collaborative nature about it. So I mean, I like the options that you guys have presented, and for me personally, you know, I would love to get an affiliate up, and knowing that, you know, we could still have access to, you know, the central repository and all the cool branding. I think it'll definitely be easier for me to still sell it to my school, essentially. And could possibly make it easier, because I know, I'm not sure if KU Med or University of Missouri KC have a chapter yet, but I know essentially that there are like these flight surgeons in our area. They you know, they're also faculty at those schools too, and so
where are you at med school right now?
I'm at Kansas City University.
KCUMB?
Yeah, I think we've had like 3 branding changes. So I think it's just
have you
KCU now, but yeah. Yeah, but I think this is one of the things where we could also leverage this change and whatever change in the bylaws to actually get our neighboring schools, sister schools in the city to you know, bring more people to your doorstep. So yeah, I'm just thanks for for putting this out there, because I was probably gonna have to like email like Ben like within the next month or so and being like, hey, sorry Ben, I haven't gotten back to you in like 6 months, but this is like,
Yeah.
still on track. But
Yeah,
no, this
sorry you got caught in the middle of all of it. We got these applications. We're like, what do we do? We're proposing these changes, and let's just get everyone together because we wanted to give you answers sooner rather than later. But this was a months-long discussion. I mean, really, almost since the day we took over. I mean, it must have been at least 8 months we've been talking about how can we do this well without alienating people or them feeling that we're going to just be like, taking the guillotine to all their hard work. And Jason, I don't know if KU Med or UMKC have chapters. I'm from Olathe, so I'm really invested.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah,
I
but
will say, Jason,
I am.
In terms of practical advice, I think you can go ahead and start an interest group at your medical school. We're in no way saying you can't do that,
Right.
and that those talks can kind of go forward. And I did the same thing. Before the AMSRO chapter system existed, I started the aerospace medicine interest group, what I called ASMIG, at my medical school, and then I rolled it into an AMSRO chapter later on. So there's nothing to say that you can't do the same thing. You can just start an interest group because that's totally legitimate. Just do it under the rules of your own medical school. Start having events, enroll members, do everything. And then when we figure this out, hopefully sooner rather than later, make it an AMSRO affiliate, and get linked into the national.
Yeah, I think, I mean, honestly, when I think about it now, I think this is actually going to be easier for us because I know for like our HPSP students, like we just got approved to do like we transitioned our military medicine group into like the SAMOPS, the national group. And I knew that took almost like a year just to get everything between the school rules and then the national SAMOPS like bylaws like congruent. And so I think this actually makes my job much easier where like, I won't have to have this multiple meetings about making sure whatever my school wants is it lines up directly with whatever the national chapter wants. So I think you guys are probably saving me some effort, so thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually the current AMSRO bylaws require every AMSRO chapter to adopt the AMSRO bylaws and function in the exact same manner, which is hugely inconvenient, I think, for a lot of chapters which keep like a looser, more flexible, maybe a smaller leadership structure.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is really good to hear because that's what we're hoping. And I know Diego wanted to say something.
Sure. I mean, hard to pick up from where to start, but first of all, I would like to celebrate what is happening here. You guys have been doing an amazing job, and this is one of these steps that AMSRO and honestly all other asthma affiliates should be doing, and most of them are doing something. But starting from trying to, follow or go along with asthma bylaws, that should be the first one. And not everyone is doing things that way. So congratulations, guys. You are, of course, the youngest people here in asthma, and you are going to be leading the whole organization. But having said that, there's a transition, and it's been, I will say honestly, it's been a little bit painful, at least from my perspective. A little bit of background is, I'm Diego Garcia. I'm an aerospace medicine physician. I graduated from the National University of Colombia in South America. And then I went through the program in aerospace medicine that university holds down there in Colombia. That is just a copy of the UTMB program. Actually, the professors are the same, and the second year of the Colombian program is with UTMB, so it's pretty much the same. I graduated from that program back in 2010. I was an AMSRO member back then. kind of, there was a famous UTMB guy, Greg, back at that time. He was really into AMSRO, and I will say he was the one that gave us the impulse to make it happen, and eventually to get to be an asthma constituent, because back at that time that seemed like a big thing. Today I'm not sure about it, but back then Greg was the one that says, guys, we have to build some reputation and to build some name while we are students and residents, and I believe AMSRO is the way. That was back then in 2008, I believe. And then I need my entry on all those stories that you guys know, and that this is what we have today. AMSRO is just a big, enormous organization, and it's everywhere, and everywhere, everyone wants to be an AMSRO, participant. And I believe that is thanks of all of you guys. Great organization and great leaderships from here. I was painfully seeing how the Human Factors Association did their transition to be a constituent, and the conversations were exactly these ones. They didn't they were not sure if every psychologist, because the human factor is mostly practiced by psychologists, and as you said, they didn't want to become asthma members. They were interested in human factors, but not really space medicine, hypoxia, fatigue, and all those things. Space medicine, though, that was kind of different for them back then. But it was a hard decision, and they went ahead and they did it, and it's working now, even though ASHFA is not as big as it was before. That's also true, but it's more solid, it's more supported, and all of their events and their functioning is based on asthma. So I will say it was worth it, at least for human factors practitioners. But I believe we at this point, we are still students, we are still trying to make it happen. Some of us are still struggling and thinking, is this what I want to do? So when you're a resident in aerospace medicine, you're kind of invested on it. I mean, you already did it. You have to be there. But there's a bunch of people, astrobiologists, physiologists, nurses that would like to learn more about these, but they are not really committed to asthma because, of course, it's very expensive. Asthma is still very expensive. And I'm thinking about our chapter in Iberoamerica. It's real hard to get these people to come up here to New Orleans, with the dollar being so difficult for them down there. So it's real hard to do that. But all this is just to support your idea of the kind of hybrid option. The fourth option will be the traditional way that we have been seeing other medical specialties to, organize their branches. Usually you have regional chapters, and that is the tradition, that is let's say the standard practice. Now, of course, most of the chapters right now are here in the States. I'm based down here in the Space Coast in Brevard County in Florida. But then we also can have, for example, we went ahead and tried to bring people from Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Peru, and Chile, and we kind of formed an Ibero-American chapter. They have their own associations and their own chapters, or let's say groups, on their universities and on some of their air forces. But we all are sort of a big chapter, regional chapter. I'm sure an Europe chapter will be just ready right now, because some of the new people working and collaborating with AMSRO right now, they are from Europe. So that is a given. I believe there's at least 2 programs in aerospace medicine, one in Indonesia and one in India. Those are going to be an Asian chapter at least to start. And then you don't, as you said, you don't have to be just waiting for one group to be active, and to keep alive the chapter. You just have big chapters, regional chapters, where you have multiple groups, multiple affiliates, or multiple just participants. But as AMSRO chapters, those will be, as you were saying, let's say AMSRO leaders, meaning that you are an asthma member, at least a student member of asthma, and then you are on the leadership of AMSRO. I can think about chapter chairs or chapter leaders, something like that. But again, I'm really happy to be listening to these discussions. I'm just I'm really happy to collaborate with you guys, having seen other experiences, as for example the ASHFA experience and how they become an asthma constituent. And then I've been working for the last 5-6 years as the asthma committee communications committee chair, what we can call the SciComm. It's been really hard to bring these old people to think, new things, just to open an Instagram account. It was real hard. They still don't believe it. They are still really scared of other to get scammed or to get their data stolen by Instagram. And now with all this Twitter verification that I was cheering for before Elon, now is not any. It doesn't make sense anymore. So we are still trying to bring these old people to new things, to new platforms, to new paradigms. But it's been really hard, and the solid work from you guys is just helping, showing them that you guys know what you want, and you are the future leaders for sure.
Well, I appreciate the support and the stories about the Human Factors Association. That's actually really interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but yeah, the goal here is really to free up the interest groups in medical schools to just be flexible and invite whomever they want and get funding from wherever they want, and they are like-minded, and we want to support them, and we want to give them access to our repository and to even help if they just want help on how to start an organization. We're there for them, but we also want to protect, like I said, our reputation. We want to protect us legally, and we want to make this like a little more hands-off in that way, giving a little bit more latitude while also doing that option 4, which is making something more organized and something that's going to last and is not going to just crumble because something happened with a chapter and they were an AMSRO chapter and now the whole organization is at peril. So I appreciate your support, and to be honest, I think the entire executive committee is on the option 4+3 train now, where we do regional chapters, and we will do some digging into where our most active chapters are, so we can kind of split this up in a way that's fair and that's representative of the current interest, and then adding the affiliate, which is giving them a logo, giving them access to us, to our resources, and then just asking that they not call themselves AMSRO, to protect us all and to make us all a little bit more flexible. So if there are no other questions, I think we will end this recording. And for the sake of the people who were unable to attend tonight and who will be watching this recording, you can email me at, let's see, AMSRO OVP, Office of the Vice President, OVP, at gmail.com. Or you can email Ben Johnson at amsro.president@gmail.com, or any of the other cabinet members. And I've been kind of spearheading this. Ben's been highly involved. Claire has been too. The interesting thing you don't have to put a dot in email addresses. So you can do a dot between every single AMSRO, or you can just do AMSRO president. So that's a little fun fact if you didn't know it. And Diego, do you have one more thing to comment?